What's up YouTube? It's Maestro, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to layer sounds on the Yamaha MODX keyboard. Now this one's going to be a little bit more extensive than other videos that you've seen. Most musicians show you pretty much just how to pick the sounds and volume wise, but I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on some things as far as EQing and effects. So what we're going to want to do first is make sure that we start with a blank slate. Now to do that, we're going to go to category, initialize, and just choose a random sound. Now next we're going to want to choose, of course, for in this case, a piano. We're going to click the sound that we want. So in this case we're going to, for part 1, category search, and I'm going to go with the power grand piano on my MODX. Now this piano is also available at maestrorel.com. All right. So next what we want to do is say, okay, what do I want to layer? Most times we're going to layer a pad and some strings. And also sometimes I'll layer what's called a bell chief sound as well. So next what we want to do is go to part 2, and we want to choose the pad that we want for this patch. We're going to pad inquire. We're going to go to name. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to do the analog pad. All right. And as you can see, that's already loud, but we're going to fix all that. Next, the next sound I'm going to do is going to be the strings. And so I want the background strings on the MODX. And lastly, the fourth sound that I want is going to be a bell sound. And we're going to go with the bell chief sound here. All right. So first off, what we're going to want to make sure we do, of course, we're going to bring all the sounds down on the MODX. Now, a couple things I like to do is I like to go into view mode, and I want to go on the left side of your faders. You're going to see a parts and element selector. We're going to select elements on that, and we just want to make sure all our sounds are turned all the way up for the power grand piano. Now, one thing that I like to do for the power grand piano, we're going to go back to view, is I like to go ahead and turn the cutoff for this one. Well, I'd say this, depending on what you want. If you want a brighter, more aggressive piano, I will say go +11. And if you want a more soft, intimate piano, -11. Okay. And we're going to actually turn this up all the way. All right. Now, next up, what we're going to do is bring the analog pad up as needed. Now, sometimes the analog pad may be a little bit too abrasive as far as volume wise, and this is where, again, we're going to go to view, elements, on the part selector, the part element button, and I like to bring it down some, just a little bit, just to kind of get a more control over the volume that I like. And we're going to bring both of those elements to 81. Now we're going to go back to view and go back to, we're going to make sure this put back to 81. And then once you're done with that element, adjustment, make sure that you click the part knob, the part button again, to be able to adjust the actual part volume. Now, another thing that I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into release settings for this analog pad, and we're going to bring that down some because I don't like the fact that it pretty much, the tail end of that is long. I also noticed that there's a delay here, so we're going to actually go into the edit section of the analog pad, and we're going to make sure we take off this delay. All right. Next up, we're going to bring in the strings. Now I like to do the same thing for the strings that I did with the pad, and that's going to bringing down the elements of the string so that I can have more control of this. So we're going to bring this down just a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing for the strings, and we're going to actually bring down the release a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. All right, and we're going to bring that up just a little more, 1 or 2 notches. All right, and then we're going to bring the strings up just a little bit more. Next, we're going to bring up the bell chief sound as well. Now for the bell chief sound, this is pretty much due to taste. If you want a louder bell, you can bring it up. I try to find a sweet spot to where it's heard but not heard a lot, if that makes sense. And I'm actually bringing the string. I'm gonna bring the strings down just a little bit more. All right, and we'll bring up the pad just about 2 notches, and we're gonna bring down the bell chief down. Now, what we're about to get into is a little EQing or mixing per se. So one thing that I want to do first is go into the analog pad, go into EQ, and I'm going to bring down, I'm going to bring down the highs, and I'm going to actually move it over just a little bit because I don't want a lot of highs with the analog pad. I want a nice low end style pad. Okay. Now, next up, what I like to do also, this is going to take a little bit more work because with the MODX, it's not a live EQ in terms of when you move the knobs, you'll be able to hear how lively it is. So you're going to have to move the knob, play it, see what it sounds like, and move the knob, play it, see what it sounds like, and just repeat that cycle. So for the strings, I know I don't want a lot of abrasive highs, so I try to listen to some frequencies that may be a little bit harsh to the ears, or just harsh to listen to that might clash with the other sounds. because I heard something there. All right, right there. So what I'm going to do is put the Q knob to about, I say 5.4, and I'm going to bring that down and just take a little bit of that out, about 5.3. Now, one other thing I like to do too is just take out a little bit of that low end of the strings. You can leave it if you want to. Sometimes I do, just depending on the patch I'm building, and sometimes I'll cut out just a little bit low end. Sometimes I like to mix like I'm actually making a production or making a beat. And this is how I used to do my tracks back then. So we'll take about 50 hertz of that. Now, what I'm also going to do here, just a tad bit, I'm going to bring in some highs for this. So about 2.63. We're going to bring it, I'll say about 8.23. Yeah, that's great. And just to be on the safe side, let's just bring it down just a little bit. Okay. Now, for the bell chief, we're going to do the same thing. Click the bell chief. We're going to go to EQ, and we're going to actually take out a lot of this low end for the bell chief, because we don't really need a lot of that low end for the bell chief because it's a high sound. And we can actually bring this up some. We'll put this to 26. Now, here's another cool thing that you can do to get the most out of your sounds. We're gonna actually go into, let's go back here. We're gonna go to mixing, and we can actually pan some of these sounds to our liking. So now for the bell chief, I know I don't want it in the middle. I'll kind of move it over to the right a little bit. And same with the strings. I'm not going to put them all the way to the right, but I will put a little bit to the right so you don't have everything pretty much right there mono. It really doesn't matter because a lot of the audience is not going to hear this, but some musicians, we do hear this type of thing, and we want to make sure we have the best atmosphere for our sounds. Now, what we're going to actually also do is go into view mode number 3. And what I like to do for the bell chief sounds is I like to set a part of the keyboard to where the sounds will come in. Now, I know I don't want the bell chief to be played at the low end of the keyboard, and I kind of want it somewhat from the middle to the highs. So what I'm going to actually do is set the keyboard, or set the bell chief to right here to C4. So that means when I'm playing down here, you will not hear the bell chief sound. Now, when I get to C4 though, all right, you will hear it. Now, you could do the same thing for the strings and the analog pad, but I typically kind of leave those out. Now, you could EQ the piano and you could EQ the analog pad. Now, the only way I will say EQ the analog pad and the only way I would say EQ the analog pad is if you're matching it with a dark light pad. And sometimes the dark light pad or the analog pad, either one of those, sometimes will clash with each other, and you don't want certain frequencies clashing with each other with sounds. And you would do the same thing if you were making a beat or doing song production. But for now, what we have is a nice basis for our sounds. Again, if you want to mess with things like reverb, you can. If you want to mess with some compression or effects, you can do that as well. So say if I wanted to go in here and I wanted to add a chorus effect or anything for the Bell Chief, which it already has a chorus effect, I can do that as well. All right. And that's going to be it for today's video. I hope this video was a tremendous blessing to you guys. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get to you as soon as I can. Again, if you're looking for any sound libraries or sound patches for your Yamaha MODX keyboard, Nord, or Roland V Stage, head over to maestroworld.com. Check out our amazing sound libraries for those keyboards, and we will have more sounds to come, more custom patches, more custom sounds available soon. Thank you again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.